Well, of course, it does depend on where you're from and the conditions in your country. Certainly in the United States, which is where I come from, there's been tremendous progress in advancing the rule of law for LGBT Americans. But even there are always a few steps forward and a few steps back. It's a constant struggle. I think that's the history of the rule of law. It's never something that is finally established for all time. Every generation has to fight the same battles over and over again. And so I think it's important that we equip our community and our allies to fight that fight for the rule of law in each country. You start with what you have, you start with conditions as they exist, and you insist on applying universal principles of the rule of law as derived from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the many international covenants and agreements that most nations have signed on to. They may or may not follow them in every respect, and they have to be reminded that these are binding obligations that apply to every society. Well, I think there's obviously a legal discussion at the foundation of all of this, and that involves legislatures and courts in most countries. But I think the more important effort to advance the rule of law is to try to inculcate a sense of rule of law, a sense of a rule of law culture within the society itself, to try to persuade people that ultimately it's in everybody's best interest to have a strong system of rule of law that defends people's rights. It's not intuitive for most people. It's something that has to be learned, has to be acquired. And so I think as a movement for human liberation, the gay rights movement is in a particularly good position to advance its goals through the rule of law, and in doing so to advance the rights of all communities everywhere. Well, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for real interchange at a human level, at an intellectual level, a chance to be in these beautiful surroundings and to engage with people who are in different stages of the development of the LGBT movement. Some are at a point now where they can almost take it for granted that they have the right to marry and they have the right to walk down the street and not be assaulted. And there are other people who are here who bring a very different, a much darker experience, a different reality. And in many cases, they have much to teach those of us in perhaps the places that have advanced further on LGBT rights, but, and perhaps they have something to learn from how we went about the process in our countries, both the successes and the failures that we experienced.